Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Disagreeable. This is Disagreeable. I'm Disagreeable. This is another one. You feel me? Shout out to everybody who's in here. This is an unplanned show, like I said in the title. And the thing is, I'm a bit at a loss for words right now. I'm a bit at a loss for words because a friend of the show. I can't reveal who he is, but a friend of the show. That was him in the beginning of this, and it's I know maybe I need to save this topic for another show. I feel like it gets too deep. I will just say this: I'm grateful for certain people. You feel me? And the ability to truly transmute transmutate situations. You feel me? Oh, what's his name? Reality transurfing, Vadim or whatever. Yeah. Say something in the chat if you're in here. Hit the like. Let me know. Should we go into some? Should we go into? Let me not, because I want to save the. I don't know if you guys saw the other live I have saved. I didn't have time to do it earlier, but on AI hyper sigils in the future or manifestation, I have a theory. About how malleable reality is and how, let's just say for a lack of better words, the devil always fucks up. So give me a second. Let's pull something up. Nobody's here yet. Couple homies chilling. Let's pull something up. Hold up. Because if nobody says what they want to watch, I'm just gonna chill and watch what I want to watch. And if any homies want to pull up, discuss, we can get into that. Yo, yo, yo. Should I get into this? This is interesting. I have this saved in my watch later. Just I was gonna say this for one of my white history shows, but let's see. Let me review it now, and then maybe we will like pull it back up for a white history show. Wait, I haven't watched this. This is gonna be boring as hell.
Hello, this is a Catholic State where we talk about the Jewish question from a Catholic perspective. In our video, the
Oh, it's gonna be one of these. I thought this was gonna be like a straight historical account. You know what I mean? I love to bring up straight up historical accounts of my white history shows. Like, I don't know about this one right now. Give me a second. Give me a second. Let's get something else. The Jewish question from a what do you say, a white perspective or something? Hell no. Hold up. Let's go. Give me a second. Let me get something interesting up here. I never watched this Chinese guy's channel. Let's see what he's talking about. Oh, hold up. Let's go into this. This looks interesting. Yeah, right here.
Empire and Sexuality, The British Experience by Ronald Haim is a 4.5-star book and a very, very good history book. It was originally published in 1990, so not too long ago. And I picked up this book because it was referenced in a book that I read last year. It was a 5-star read, and that book was Empire Land: How Imperialism Has Shaped Modern Britain by Satnam Sankara. Really, really liked that book. And then when I saw this referenced, I saw the title of it, you know, Empire and Sexuality, The British Experience. I was just like, oh, definitely got to pick that up. So I did. And this was a 4.5-star read. Really, really, really liked this book. So what are my feelings about this? This is a part of a studies in imperialism series that have some pretty cool titles in it. And with that being said, that was about as cool as it got, to be fair, because most of it, a lot of this book is quite grotesque, which is to be expected. This is about a whole bunch of things, but once you see like Empire and like you could tell by the title, Empire and Sexuality, The British Experience, you know it's going to be a madness. The British were everywhere, and so they interacted with all types of cultures and peoples. Haim does what any historian would do in a situation. He doesn't shy away from it. He, in fact, leans into it quite a bit. So let's go into the premise. Haim attempts to show how colonial British attitudes on sex influenced the colonized and the colonizer. Haim argues that the rules and regulations also helped maintain and grow the Victorian era expansion, which was quite a thesis from him. He did quite well in his illustration of it, to be fair, especially how, because we do get into the real nitty gritties of, you know, a lot of case studies, legal studies in terms of, you know, certain cases where certain sexual regulations were upheld, certain ones were, you know, put to the side, etc., etc. So we do delve into a lot of, you know, administrators, soldiers, etc., who, you know, were out and about in colonized lands. So that we get many themes in this book. We get, of course, no book on that's talking about sex will be complete without Freud's take on sex. We only get that in the beginning, thankfully, but you know, we get the usual Freudian analysis in this. But other themes also include putting one's career at risk for sex. We do see quite a lot of that, and potentially love as well. You know, there is a debate as to how much you can love someone you've colonized and that you've oppressed, and how you're actively oppressing. So, you know, there is that. Careers ending in disgrace. There was a lot of that, and especially when the sexual attitudes changed, when messages from London changed regarding certain sexual rules. So there's also that. The marital consequences of an empire, pedophilia, Victorian virtues, sexual hypocrisy, race, masculinity, colonial identity, gender roles in empire, moral regulation, and more. There's a lot of very, very heavy themes that I've touched upon here. I want to speak about something that I actually never actually considered when thinking about, you know, the empire, the British Empire, which is the marital consequences of an empire. Chaim does a good job of actually showing that if you're an administrator, you're a soldier, you're whoever, you're an agent of the state, and you get sent out to India, you get sent out to God knows where, the strain that will have on your marriage, I never actually, and one's actual mental health as well. And again, I know I'm teetering on the line of these are the colonizers, so you know there is that, but that doesn't mean these people aren't human, that they won't feel that. So it was interesting to see sort of marriages broken up, families broken up, and a lot of blended families because of, you know, people having.
This guy is boring me, but I feel like he's being soft and complimentary or halfway complimentary at first. And I have a feeling I should stick around. So bear with me.
And families obviously in the UK, but also having it on the other side of the planet. So that was an interesting theme that was explored. And it was one of those ones where it's one of the sort of realization sort of themes instead of it being a very upfront theme. It's sort of like a realization on my end. So yeah, really, really good themes. Really appreciate it. So let's go on to the pros. Chaim does well to present the complexities of sexuality, friendship, and marriage without going into or relying on theory. The stories of British men who worked for the same empire, who worked for the empire, was enough to adequately portray the complexities of things. And like I said, a lot of those complexities aren't good, aren't nice. There's a lot of pedophilia that's documented in this. And it's not like he goes into detail about, you know, certain acts or whatnot, but it was just like, you know, they liked boys for XYZ reason. The girl was this age, etc., etc. There's a whole bunch, just even the rules around it, the fact that children were so involved in it, it does make for very, very uncomfortable reading. Secondly, Chaim.
So hold on. You know, the white man is bold as hell. This guy wrote a book. So the white man wrote a book on the white man. You know, and that's the thing with this moral relativism, or I don't know if I'm saying it right, but just the justification of all types of nonsense. You feel me? What was I saw something earlier, like a 17-year-old was like messing with like a 15-year-old or something, or like a 14 or something like that. And one of the 14-year-old's parents killed the 17-year-old. And I saw like mad Muslim, I don't know what was going on, maybe it was algorithm. I saw mad Muslim people commenting like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yo, don't you have a prophet that was like talking about hitting 9-year-old? Like come on, dog. Like like I don't know. I feel like the white man just has his own personal psychosis without religion. But when you put that religious psychosis on top of it and that justification, like shit gets ugly.
Doesn't shy away from the truly atrocious aspects of the times. He recalls the pedophilia and the venereal diseases, etc. That's another thing, is a lot of diseases, and I think there was even some charts in this, some tables and whatnot And there's maps in this too. Some pretty, don't know if you can see, and put that forward to the camera. Some little maps in there. It's not scattered throughout. I say that, and there's more. But yeah, no, there's some tables and some figures here, and there were some charts regarding venereal diseases. You know, we can see. If I even pull this up, I actually did have this open just now. This one, literally on page 127.
All right, I thought he was going to get into some like real historical accounts and like something I could use for my white history shows, but this guy just kicking back reading books. Like I believe you. I believe you do, Rag man. That you like to read books too. I love them. I like a nice book as well. You feel me? So let me move on to something else. So I started this a while ago and I've been meaning to finish it. And if Magical Family is still here, I would like your input on this. Let me check the comments real quick. Ain't nobody talking. Let's keep it moving.
Good news is that in 10 minutes and 15 seconds, you are going to know exactly the science behind the full manifestation process, explained by the only physicists that can actually claim they can manifest billions of dollars using this science. And he wrote everything in this New York Times bestseller. This guy taught me everything. I did my own dose of success, and then we taught this to thousands of people. Some of them became millionaires, some of them not, but all achieved a better life. The bad news is that you have to be stuck with me and my spaghetti accent for 10 minutes and 15 seconds. Now,
Yo. My shit crash out?
the bad news is actually that this is not exactly how it works. People think it's all about, I have a Ferrari?
Hold up. Do you guys have sound in there? Because my shit went from a certain number of viewers and then it went to 0 and now I can't hear shit. So give me a second. See what the hell's going on. Hold up. Hold up 1 second. What the hell's going on?
A Ferrari, then you get a Ferrari. Well, if that would be true, trust me, I will have hundreds of Ferraris. But this is not how it works. Anyway, I'll explain it. I'll be very fast. Success, and then we taught this to thousands of science behind the full manifestation process, explained by the only physicists that can actually claim they can manifest billions of dollars using this science. And he wrote everything in this New York Times bestseller. This guy taught me everything. I did my own dose of success, and then we taught this to thousands of people. Some of them became millionaires, some of them not, but all achieved a better life. The bad news is that you have to be stuck with me and my spaghetti accent for 10 minutes and 15 seconds. Now, the bad news is actually that this is not exactly how it works. People think it's all about, I have a Ferrari, then you get a Ferrari. Well, if that would be true, trust me, I will have hundreds of Ferraris. But this is not how it works. Anyway, I'll explain it. I'll be very fast. Maybe too fast, as my girlfriend would say. But I usually say, maybe you have to do it twice. Maybe you have to either stop and take notes or rewatch a second time. I'll start very quick from now. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, so the full thing is divided into 3 steps. I'll explain you the theory, okay? So 12 steps in total, 2 steps explain the theory. Then I'll tell you what kind of daily practices you should have, okay? Then I will tell you, once you do this, what is going to happen in the future in a way that you couldn't explain. But let's go. So the first point is reality acts as a mirror. You smile and it smiles you back. And if you think you're the man, the best on the planet, you're already rich and famous, then reality can only prove you right. Law of resonance. But if you think you're a mess and others are better than you and you're not that good anyway, reality will prove you right. Also, last time I checked, if you smile at the mirror, it smiles. But if you don't smile, the mirror will never smile. So if you want to change your life, you don't go and to the mirror and say change, you change yourself, and reality changes. Okay, that's the first. A quick interruption for a crucial message. Over the next 12 months, we're going to select 33 people.
Hold on, homie trying to push his retreat or whatever. Hold on, I ain't trying to hear that.
Point. The second point is brain is a receiver. What do I mean by that? I mean that basically your brain is like a radio, an antenna, right? And it takes frequency. Sometimes you are very angry or upset and you say stupid stuff. You said stuff that nobody will ever forget. You insult people or whatever, right? Because you are a receiver. When you're upset, you receive lower level of information. When you're normal, you receive normal level of information. When you are indeed very much relaxed, taking a shower or in holiday, you receive super high level of information. In fact, in the shower, you are Einstein. And when you see yourself in the shower, you're the best idea ever. And anyway, so the brain is a receiver. Why am I saying this? Because the full point of this, the science behind it is
this is interesting how you pointed out, like the level of relaxation, and like when you're on holiday or something like that, that directly corresponds with like whatever you want to call it, magical working or whatever. You cannot manifest if you are in a stress state. So yeah, that makes sense. And like way back, mad years ago, I had a theory. Like one of my basic theories was everything. Okay, before I was like living in the penthouse in Miami financial district, before all that, I used to take time when I wasn't living out like that at all, really. I would sometimes on the weekend go just chill in a 5-star hotel for the weekend. You feel me? Just to get that energy on me. I didn't have any more theory beyond that. You feel me? You know, we always like to eat good food, so you know we'd be at 5 stars, whatever. That's normal. Or taking trips and being in very fly villas. You feel me? Seeing incredible vistas, viewpoints, whatever you want to call them. Just getting more things into your eyes. Since everything's made of light, if I can get that light to bounce off of these things and go into my mind, then it becomes like a part of me. You know, that was a basic theory a long time ago. Magical Family says, I got my best ideas on long drives and in the shower. You know, people talk about the shower heavy and manifesting and things like that, but it's weird. Like I don't know. Like when I'm in the shower, I get like negative thoughts. You feel it's kind of fucked up. I'm gonna be honest. Like, dude, maybe I need to give this shit more consideration. But I feel like the shower is not really it for me. You feel me? Walking in nature does more, or doing fly shit.
According to quantum physics, if you build a state of mind where you are confident, strong, you already have what you want, it's like impossible for you to fail. You are there, you have it, you're relaxed, you don't have any worry, everything is fine and everything is perfect. Reality will prove you right. And also you receive more ideas and information and way to do stuff that allow you to get there. So that's the point. But the point is, how do you get there? Well, these are the 4 best steps that you can do in this exact order. So the first thing you need to do, you need to sit down and write your wildest dream, and then you sign that paper. Like, you have to write it. What do you want to do in your life? What do you want to be? You want to be the next queen of England?
Interesting. Interesting. You write your wildest dreams and you sign that paper, and that goes back to like the how everything's ran on contracts, and you connect that to so-called like as above, so below. You feel me? Or if you make a contract with yourself here in the physical, you're also making a contract with your higher self, and your higher self will help you, or will be, what's the right word? Not help, but basically it'll have to move towards that. You feel me? And also like so all this stuff can sound really woo woo, but if you are moving towards your goal, how can you fail? If you don't determine an endpoint, a destination, and you're on a constant journey, a constant growth, how can you? All you can do is compound upon that. at least while you're living. Or maybe, let's get theoretical, maybe even after you live, you pass away, you still can carry on this emotional baggage. Emotional baggage sounds like a bad thing, but if you pack the right things in the correct way, maybe it's the right thing or a good thing. You feel me?
You want to be a rapper, you want to be you want to be an MMA fighter that can eat hundreds of dogs every hour, whatever, you can get it. You want to be a multimillionaire with 10 Ferraris and famous online, okay, write it down and says, I don't care how I'm going to get there, I just simply want to get there, and you sign. Boom, easy, done. It may have to be something that makes you feel absolutely good. You've done and you're like, that's really what I want. If it doesn't feel good, I explain you later here, it's not the way to go. You only can get what does feel good. Second thing is, once you write your wildest dream, every day you will have to change a negative thought with a positive reaction.
We can't control our automatic thoughts, but what we have 100% control of is observing those thoughts that can be harmful to us, and then reacting differently to those thoughts. And beat yourself up for having negative thoughts.
Last time I checked, you can't change your thoughts. You go around and you're like, a monkey. Like, you can't change your thoughts. You can't take new thoughts. What you can do is you see a monkey and then you decided to react to it. So you said, you know what, I want to be a multimillionaire having like a big villa and whatever. Okay, got it. And then you walk in the street and think, you know what, I'm never going to get there. Let's be honest. Like, I'm not that good anyway. Anytime you think that, oh, it's like, I'm not that lucky, or the world is not that good to me. As soon as you think that, you can't change it, but you can change your reaction. So you says, I'm not that good anyway. And then you stop, and twice a day, you says, you know what, I'm actually the best. I'm good. I'm already there. I just don't see that yet. Whatever floats your boat. Okay, good. Twice a day you do this. Then you take the number one, your wildest dream, and you every day.
Very interesting. Changing the thought to change reality. It's like, I forgot what the title of the show that I did, but I was talking about protecting your mind at all costs, whatever you need to do. You feel me? Whether you need to write it down, whether you need to get a tattoo or something to cause some trauma to add to your repetition, so you can auto suggest to yourself even differently, or what else can you do? Oh yeah, when I was in the show that I did, I was talking about like creating a servitor or creating a thought form, and then you bring in this thought form to life, and it becomes a running program in the background of your system. You feel me? And that shit is just a guard at the gate all the time. And people think that's woo-woo or magic, but that's just you thinking, you made a thing. Now you even doing that and taking the time, the effort, the emotion of all that shit, it's just a reminder. You feel me? Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real, what's fake. You feel me? So once you place this thing there, it's there until you want it to not be there. Hold on. Let me get this. Magical Family says, Habaku 2.2. I don't know what that is. Hold on. I need to, why can't I copy this shit? Damn. I'm gonna look this up.
First, you read it. Second, you visualize it as already done in first person. So you want to be this multi-billionaire with 10 Ferraris. Okay, got it. How does it feel, the Ferrari? How does it feel, the house? What kind of drink am I drinking? And visualize it in first person. You can start with third person, but then always end up with first person, okay? And then you act. What do you mean you act? You have to act in a sense of acting like. What do you mean by acting like? That once a week, these twice a day. These you do once every, 6 months. These one, you read every day, you visualize every day, at least twice a day. Act once a week is fine. You have to act like. So you need.
You know, we don't skip over anything here. So my Italian friend here, I will be pulling that back a bit, and we will go to share this tab. Habaku. How do you say it? And when you're reading Bible shit again, it's like chapter 2, verse 2. That's how you do it. Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 2. is a well-known biblical verse instructing the prophet Habakkuk to write down God's prophetic message so it is easily understood and shared. Key translations: King James Version, KJV. Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. I'm gonna read that again. Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. Readeth it. New International Version, NIV. Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. Now, Magical Family, is the herald or he who readeth it, is that your subconscious? Is that your subconscious? Let me get a little bit more of this. Meaning and context. In its original context, the vision refers to a divine message of impending judgment and eventual justice. God commanded Habakkuk to document this message clearly, likely on large, highly visible tablets, so that messengers could easily read it and run to announce it to the people. While the verse is sometimes popularly cited today as advice for writing down personal life goals or creating vision boards, its original biblical intent is focused on recording God's prophetic word so it can be widely shared. Well, if I am made in God's image, then my word is also prophetic. You feel me? And if I speak it, am I creating prophecy? If you create a goal and you speak it and live it, and you projected yourself in the future, are you the living word of God? And are you speaking reality into reality? True prophecy. You feel me? Magic Family says, I think the herald and he is many things, seen and unseen. Let's get back to this.
Then you take the number one, your wildest dream, and you every day, first you read it. Second, you visualize it as already done in first person. So you want to be this multi-billionaire with 10 Ferraris. Okay, got it. How does it feel, the Ferrari? How does it feel, the house? What kind of drink am I drinking? And visualize it in first person. You can start with third person, but then always end up with first person, okay? And then you act. What do you mean you act? You have to act in a sense of acting like. What do you mean by acting like? That once a week, these twice a day. These you do once every, I don't know, 6 months. These one, you read every day, you visualize every day, at least twice a day. Act once a week is fine. You have to act like. So you need to go to a Ferrari dealership. You need to go to an open house for a villa. You need to go and look for first class holiday, whatever. You need to act like and pretend you are like, because your brain is like, oh, I forgot. I'm actually a billionaire. I forgot. For that moment, when you go and visit your Ferrari dealership, you're like, I'm actually a billionaire. I forgot.
This is interesting, and I want to comment on this because he's only speaking on moving forward, but I want to add this because the pendulum always swings. So when the snowball is forming in your favor, it's easy to roll with it. You feel me? Building momentum, building inertia. You feel me? But if the pendulum swings and you, in nigga terms, the best way to say it is fall off, you feel like you're falling off, that is when you have to act counterintuitively, because the reality, everything around you will tell you to do this, to hold on to this reality. Meaning I need to start having a poverty mindset. Like I need to start hoarding money, or I need to lower my lifestyle. You feel me? On some Jim Ron shit. Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. You feel me? And if you can do that, you can maintain even through the winters, because the winters are coming. But the pendulum always swings. So if you can protect your mind when the pendulum swings, it's no problem. It's just going to swing back.
Was it? And then now these start changing. This is the full point. Now you've done these. What do you need to do? These are the nature plus meditation. These are the two ways to raise your frequency of your brain as higher as you can. Just by doing this, nothing but these two, So spending time in nature and meditate is the way you're going to get higher and higher and higher in your vibration.
I think nature is connected in a way that a lot of people don't understand, but this is pure science. So every flower, every bush, every tree that we see around us is connected underground, not just with each other, but with fungi. And the fungi transmit information from one creature, a tree, say, for instance, to another creature, which is a bush, that then transmits information to the bees that come to pollinate it. And it's not just nature communication, it's energy. It's the world's energy, it's the universe's energy. And so what we do is we get out, we do this taking quiet time, we form some new neural pathways, and then we go and plug into nature.
And you're going to receive higher level of information. Why? Meditation, because basically your main brain, ego, is trying to protect you, so it's always negative. So by you meditating, these guys shut up and you can finally relax and higher up. Nature, why? Because nature is full of something called fractals. Everything is fractal in nature. And by you looking at fractals, by you hearing fractal noises like the birds or the beach, by you smelling fractals and touching fractals, then your vibration higher according to law of resonance. Listen, this is how it works. Just do it. And then what happens after you do this? After you do this, you kick off the process. You kick off the ball. Something will happen. You never know how, but something will happen. And then you try for 3 days. Try for 3 days this, and you'll see, that's what this random guy that looks like Jesus after a rave meant. Yes, this is how it works. Then you kick off, and then something is going to happen. This is mandatory. It is what is going to happen, and you need to know because it will make everything easier. First of all, nothing will be immediate. What do I mean? You're not going to get a Ferrari tomorrow, but you'll be in the process to get him. People think, that's the point number one, that things will go this way. You here, you start doing this, and then the day after, you get a good client, a good new business, and then the day after you get a good money. And it's true. Try, don't believe me, try. But at a certain point you grow, at a certain point here, you stop. I can tell you why, but it's just more of an empirical thing. But everybody realized, even this billionaire guy tried to work with me, like you grow and then you stop growing and goes down. And you then after you go down, it feels like you plateau, you get stuck down. So you're going to grow and get new clients and new business ideas and things will start growing, you know what I mean, new people, everything is great. And then you'll be like, at a certain point, everything will stop growing and you will feel like you lost your magic. And you'll be like, ooh, I thought it was great. I'm actually done.
Damn, I don't know, maybe everybody can't relate, but this nigga is talking right now. This nigga is talking.
It feels like you plateau, you get stuck down. So you're going to grow and get new clients and new business ideas and things will start growing, you know what I mean, new people, everything is great. And then you'll be like, at a certain point, everything will stop growing and you will feel like you lost your magic. And you'll be like, ooh, I thought it was great. I'm actually done. Like that's what you're going to feel. And you're going to get down. And then you're going to get stuck down. Why? Because these techniques in a certain way follow the law of nature. And imagine you're a tree. And if you're a tree, you're growing and growing in springs and summer, and you grow and grow and grow. But then at a certain point, fall arrives and winter arrives, and you start losing your leaf. You start losing everything you kind of fought for. And then I've never been a tree, so I don't really know. But I guess it's painful to lose your tree, to lose your leaf. So you start thinking, oh, I'm losing everything. But then the bigger trees comes and tell you, no. This is how it works. You actually lose everything so you can grow more and more and more. So basically, the only way you have to grow is by going down. And then you stay down. And then at a certain point when you never...
Don DeMarco, hold up. And one thing I want to point out too for everybody around here that knows how I trade, I'm a professional trader, professional funded trader. You feel me? One of the best to ever live, an innovator. You feel me? Somebody breaking through the industry, coming from nothing. Yeah, let me not talk about myself anymore. But look at number one. That shit looks like a goddamn price chart. That shit looks like a price chart. Look at that shit. Boom. Look at that trend up, trend down, consolidation, and then trend continuation up, bullish on the higher time frame.
Expected, you go back way back up. This is what Ray Dalio, the billionaire, used to say too. It's like every growth I see, it works this way. You grow, then you go down, then you go back, and you go back up. That's how it never works in any other way. And I can see this now. 99.9% of the people I meet in my investment work, I'm a startup investor anyway, in these things, always goes like this. Okay, so what happened? There would be a point in your life pretty significant when you're going to get down and you're going to get stuck. And now, how do you know you're actually progressing or not? Because you might think everything is going bad, but is it really going bad? or it just growth disguised of going bad. So this is where the point number 2 comes. Here, from here to here, you're going to receive a lot of symbols. So your subconscious that is super powerful, and I'll tell you later, will give you symbols. What kind of symbols can they happen? Majority of people experience a lot of like.
He's on some alchemist shit right now. Who wrote that book? I know, Halo, my Magical Family. I know you know. The book is The Alchemist. The writer is. Why am I thinking Castaneda? Is that real? Am I thinking the right name? But the Alchemist, it goes into the omens, dog. You feel me? Like, let's go, bro. My bad for, I don't see anybody hit the like button. I see people passing through the show. I'm pretty sure Magical Family's here kicking it, at least for this video. But this guy's talking. And I want to add something to this. Like, when people are looking to get information from anything in general, but specifically, like something that will make you money potentially or give you some type of accolades immediately and easily, meaning I do this, I get this certificate or this or that, you'll do it and you'll practice and you'll take notes. But something like this, that is infinitely more important than all that bullshit, infinitely more valuable. You feel me? You won't watch this again and go back and take notes. That's the difference between me and you. I'm going to watch this again and probably again and take notes. You feel me? Even though these are things I know already, sometimes the basics and the foundation, just like in trading or in mathematics, is the most important shit. You got to go back to the roots. You feel me? You got to go back to the roots and take it seriously. So if there was some type of accolades, pussy or money or something like that, you take this seriously. So don't you think that your own mind, your self-image, and your ability to manipulate reality is more important than all that shit? But you don't take this seriously because people told you not to take it seriously, and you've been taught through your educational system and all this bullshit how to live life. You feel me? And that's why you get the same result of life and live a common, mundane life. And there's a difference over here. The people who fuck with me and people who are in this little circle, we are extraordinary. We're not trying to be ordinary. We're trying to be extraordinary. You feel me? Uncommon. But I digress.
Synchronicities with numbers. So they're going to get a lot of 11, 11, 12, 12. This is your mind creating the circumstances to tell you, hey, you are in the good route. Just keep going. Push, push, push. Great. The second thing that always happen is some symbols. This is a bird. I know it doesn't look like, but you know what? I don't care. It's supposed to be a bird. Some people like see a specific bird every time. Some people see a specific animal every time. Like I can go to a Chinese shop and then go to a Chinese restaurant and then meet a Chinese man. And then I know there's going to be something around China that will happen. So I know that maybe I'm going to receive an idea that will lead me to China. Like this is what I know I'm on the right track. Now, everything will go down and you listen to the symbol. Then, super important thing, intuition. What does that mean? So this is you. This is the logic queue. This is the logic queue. Logic queue can process 41 bits of information a second. Subconscious you can produce 11 million of bits of information a second. So basically your subconscious is 250,000 times more powerful than your conscious. Why do we care? Because your subconscious communicates with you by feeling and intuition. So if you are on the street.
Hold up, headphones died. Hold up, let me put out the headphones. One second. Are we good? Hold up.
Can you see a beautiful man?
Hold up. 1 second. Headphone died. Now it's being whack.
And you feel like.
I apologize. I know this shit was flowing. Give me 1 second. I'm switching over to the totally other headphones. Boom.
I'm going to marry this guy. This is your subconscious seeing the future and telling you that's your future. If you see someone and be like, this person stinks, I just don't want to be next to this person, I just don't feel it's right. This is your subconscious telling you something is off, go away. So you need to listen to your intuition. So never do what you think is right, always do what you feel is right. You have to ask yourself, what do I feel doing the most? Bam, easy, okay? Then once you accept that you're gonna go down, you follow, listen to the symbol. Every idea you have, you ask yourself, do I feel like doing this? If the answer is yes, you keep going. And then you kind of start and relax more and then analyze what you believe. If you relax, you allow your subconscious to communicate, because again, brain is a receiver. So the more you relax, the more you get. So you start relaxing. Point number 5, speak to your higher brain. What do I mean by that? So you have a specific voice in your head that you can develop very easily. When things get tough, you can go and speak to your higher brain and you will literally hear replies here. It's fairly easy. You imagine to be in a garden, and in a garden you see your copy, your doppelganger coming. And when you are struggling in life, you sit down, you imagine your doppelganger coming that is successful and happy, and you just ask her, what do I need to do now? Like, I
just want to add this for anybody who's taking this seriously. He's moving very quickly and giving precise orders for the super mundane thinker. But if you already have an active imagination, you don't have to be in a garden. Be wherever the fuck you want. You could be on the surface of the moon, and then out of the darkness, your doppelganger walks upon you. Whatever feels more comfortable and rolls with your imagination.
know, how can I be like you? And he replies, this is going to help you go through the pain. And finally, at a certain point, when you never expected, bam, ka-ching, everything will come in a way you wouldn't possibly expect. And once these things come, you would like to do it again and again and again. And I guess that's enough for spaghetti accent for today.
Masterminds are scientifically proven to catapult success, especially when members are aligned to tested tools that impact health, wealth, and relationships. Typically, these are the 3 things we all care about the most. This is our 4th year of doing a mastermind, and the results in...
All right, homie was cooking. We're going to keep it moving. I really do, guys. Hold up. I really do have some fire. Hold up. Let's go.
Manifesting doesn't work for you? Do you find that manifesting doesn't work for you? Do you find that it seems like
Oh yeah, we're good. My bad.
whenever you try to manifest something, it's the opposite? If so, then this technique will work great for you. Let me explain what it is and how it works. It's called the not technique, or the negative technique. Why do we call it that? Well, let's talk about the subconscious mind for a moment. When you manifest, you're manifesting through your conscious mind, but focusing into your subconscious. Your subconscious mind is where everything happens. So one of the major traits of the subconscious mind is that there is no negative. So when you're focusing on something negative, you're getting just the opposite, because the subconscious mind will always, always, always give you what you're focusing on. So if you're having difficulty attracting something or manifesting something right now, it's because of the negative thoughts, the negative feelings, your self-sabotage. I want $20,000. Or I have $25,000, because you have to be in the present, because the subconscious only has present. The past and the future are a conscious construct. So when you're saying I have $20,000, someone who's self-sabotaging will say, no, I don't. I know I need to say I have it and feel it, but I just don't. So what you're doing is you're focusing on what you want, but with your self-sabotage, you're also focusing on, oh, I don't have it. I don't deserve it. And guess what you're attracting? What you're focusing on, of not having something and being undeserving, unworthy. Okay, so you're not going to get it.
Let me add to this. This is why physical is directly connected to the spiritual. This same negative, I don't have it, I'm not good enough, blah, 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 that can be chopped away without any imagination. You can do that basically. Let me clarify this. The imagination is the most powerful thing and tool you can use, but some people are so atrophied that they can't do nothing with it. So you need to work from the physical and allow that to unlock your imagination when you see new possibilities. How do you do that? Whatever goal you have to work hard as shit at it. You feel me? Even if you're in full confusion, every day you attack it, every day you study it, every day you do a little work towards it, every day you take some notes on it, every day you review those notes. Your subconscious is not gonna, you're gonna chip away at the negative aspect. You're gonna chip away at the negative aspect of your mental self-talk just through the work. It's kind of like lifting weights. You can say, I hate the gym. This is not gonna work. But if you go there and you listen to a trainer, be it, and your trainer is your higher self or your servitor, your thought form, whatever you need to call it. If you listen to the trainer and you do the work and you follow the diet, it's inevitable that you're going to see the result. And it works the same way across all other things.
We've seen this quite a few times in our professional career because Raluca does a lot of coaching with people. And she'll have somebody come in and she'll say, what do you want? And they'll say, I don't want a divorce. I really don't want a divorce. I've been going through a divorce. You see what I mean? What are they focusing on? They're focusing on what they don't want. The subconscious doesn't understand that. So all it's thinking is divorce, divorce. Or they'll say, I don't want to go broke. You know, they want to have a successful business, but when you ask them what they want, they go, I don't want to go broke. So what are they focusing on? Going broke. So here's what you need to do with the knot technique. You need to eliminate any kind of resistance. So if you say, I have $20,000, if that works for you, which the people who are successful manifesting, that works for them. Continue using that technique. I have this, I have that. But if it's not working for you, you can say, I do not have $20,000. I don't have $20,000. You'd like it, but what are you attracting? $20,000, because you're saying, I don't have it. Just like the person that says, I don't want to go broke, he's focusing on going broke. So you're saying, I don't have $20,000. So the resistance is gone. If you don't have something, you're not saying, oh, I'm not worthy of it. You're already saying you don't have it. But the subconscious always attracts what you focus on. You're focusing on $20,000. Isn't that great? I don't have a new Ford F-150 truck, whatever it is you want. And by not having it and focusing on that, you're attracting what you want. Give it a shot. What do you have to lose? If it hasn't been working for you in the past doing the traditional method of I have a Ford F-150, if that didn't work for you, then try the other one. I do not have a Ford F-150. Just by saying that, it's like, the resistance is gone. So because of that, you need to always focus on what you want, unless you're using this technique. So I do not have $20,000. I do not have a Ford F-150. You are not subscribing to this channel. You get it? Subscribe. And we'll bring more techniques like this to you. If you know someone who's having a hard time manifesting, send them this technique. Let them try it. So there you go. I do not want $20,000. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.
I mess with this dude, and it's so simple, but I never heard anybody put it that way. This guy is named Rene Bastarash. Rene Bastarash. I originally got into him because he was like, you can see American School of Hypnosis. I was interested in hypnosis, and I was considering taking a course because actually, if Magical Family is still here, so I know you're a busy man, but if Magical Family is still here, can you recommend a what's the right word? Damn, why is the word slipping my mind? Because I don't want to just say good. What was the word that I want to use right there? God damn. Can you recommend a a fire official hypnosis, like what do you call it, course, module, class, somebody who's up on that. You can use that to get a deeper into auto suggestion. You feel me? Where do I want to go with it right now? Oh yeah, from the first video we watched, I think not the very first one, but the one right before this. I want to, even though I'm going to do a whole show on it, I want to dive. You know what? I just want to dive into hyper sigils for a moment, because I don't really need to get into what I'm going to be doing on my show, but this will be a good study, so I will be more coherent on the show that I do on AI, hyper sigils, and the future of manifestation. But yeah, let's go dive into hyper sigils for a couple seconds. You know, Black people, a couple seconds. That could be any amount of time.
My name is Patch. I'm an award-winning writer, a published cartoonist, and apparently, this is a story about the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. When I was a kid, I loved comic books. I still do. I got my first comic when I was 3 years old, and it was an issue of Action Comics that featured Superman fighting a villain named the Purple Pile Driver. The Purple Pile Driver shot things out of the top of his helmet. At 3, I was too young to know what a double entendre was. I've long had a theory that kids who are really into comics will eventually try their hand at making them. I was no different. When I was younger, I took notebook paper, a pencil, and some crayons, and I did a multi-issue run of Avengers. And this was the 70s. It was before the Avengers were cool. I also did a series about Pac-Man, who wore a cape and was a superhero, and this was before the Super Pac-Man video game or cartoon. Even into my adult life, I would try to make comics. I'd always get a couple of pages into it and then lose interest. Then one night, sitting outside a local bar, I had a comic story idea land fully formed in my head. The next day, I sat down at my dining room table and started drawing it. When I was finished a couple of months later, I had a complete 90-page story in my hands. This was 10 years ago this year. The story was titled Monster Truck, and it was about Lupe, a werewolf who owned a food truck. Lupe was offered his dream job, being an executive chef at a fancy restaurant. His dream job, though, ended up being a nightmare when he found out his employer was actually a Lovecraftian monster who hired him to cook children. With the help of his friends, Gil, his roommate and a fellow cook, Hazel, his girlfriend and a witch, and Pops, a human hot dog vendor, Lupe managed to rescue a bunch of kids, rob his employer of his powers, and defeat him in battle using a giant mech. The story had a lot of influences. I uploaded it to the internet as a webcomic, and a couple dozen people read it. It was fun. It felt like the scratching of a lifelong itch. And then it was over, or so I thought. One night it dawned on me as I was laying in bed, the events of this story weirdly foreshadowed future events in my life. I lay there piecing it all together like the detective at the end of The Usual Suspects. And as the metaphoric Kobayashi mug fell from my hands and shattered on the floor, I shot up immediately in bed. I relayed my new discovery to my wife and asked her to confirm my uncanny discovery. Was I crazy? But she confirmed my life had taken an oddly similar trajectory to the story. When I was making the comic, I worked in a large church in their video production department, a job I loudly and often proclaimed to be my dream job. My wife was pregnant at the time, and her pregnancy sent me into a tailspin of religious doubt. I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring up my soon-to-be-born child as a Christian. After months of therapy and soul-searching, I left my faith and my job at the church. So, not wanting my child to be part of something that felt to me like a child sacrifice, I left the church, robbing an ancient god of his power over me, and I left my dream job. At some point in all that, my wife's interest became what could be described as definitively witchy. Despite the lack of giant mechs, this confluence was striking to me. The story that dropped into my head one night that I spent months toiling over ended up predicting, causing future events in my life. In the title of this video, I referred to what happened as a hypersigil. Hypersigil was a term coined by Grant Morrison, Morrison is a popular comic book writer. In the 2000s, he wrote a series for DC Comics called The Invisibles. The lead character of The Invisibles, a man named King Mob, was based on Morrison. As the series continued over its 6-year run, Morrison, a practicing chaos magician, realized what happened to King Mob in the stories ended up also happening to him, even going so far as he and the character catching a flesh-eating staph virus and bursting a lung. He ended up calling this phenomenon a hypersigil because it seemed like an expanded, enlarged version of sigil magic, a method used by chaos magicians to affect reality. I've considered a lot of possible explanations for what really happened. For a while, I compared what happened to Carl Jung's idea of the transcendent function. But now, 10 years later, I'm not really convinced there's any difference between a hypersigil and Jung's transcendent function. I decided at one point it was just a coincidence. But if it was a coincidence that held great meaning for me, making it basically a Jungian synchronicity. If it's not obvious, I find Jung's general metaphysic helpful for explaining things. But again, I'm not really sure if there's a big difference between a hypersigil and a synchronicity. So yeah, 10 years out, that's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. And all the explanations I come up with to explain it just make it weirder.
Interesting. I don't know if anybody was listening in the comparison that he made. Should I say that? No, I'm not going to say that. But the comparison that he made about him leaving his dream job at the church so his son would be raised, and how this character he made so his son would be raised and sacrificed to this, which I can't really disagree with him, this desert insanity, bloodthirsty God, paralleled with the character he made to leave his dream job so he would no longer be sacrificing children to a Cthulhu-like Lovecraftian being, which can be paralleled with this desert insanity, bloodthirsty God. I'm just doing my thing. You feel me? Shout out to anybody who's here. Because we're going to end it with Grant Morrison, because that's where the whole hypersigil thing comes from. And why I'm so interested in the hypersigil is because when somebody hears sigil or magic or something like that, they think ungodly, evil. Occult means evil when it just means hidden, but they think ungodly, evil, blah, blah, blah. I think the hypersigil unmasks that and clarifies that even more, that this is not some witchcraft type, you're doing workings and you're invoking and all this weird shit. No, because if it came out of your mind and your imagination put something out creatively, then how is that, for one, how is that of evil or of the devil? And two, how is that not of God? You feel me? No, there's one I wanted to get at. Hold up. And I was gonna I'm not gonna put y'all up on that. No. Maybe if I do a full occult channel, I'll put you up on that. But I'm not gonna put you up on that right now. Man, this homie, the room soup. No, let's go straight to Grant Morrison. Fuck it. If you have your headphones really loud, because I'm not gonna skip it, because I feel like it's a what's the word in hypnosis? An induction? I feel like it's an induction. Hold up, am I sharing this? Let's go. 1 second. So yeah, if your headphones are really loud, feel free to turn them down a bit, because I'm not gonna skip this intro. But let's get into this. Am I sharing? All right, I'm cool. All right, that was it right there. And Grant Morrison's has a heavy ass accent, so bear with him. You know me. I'll listen to anything to get some knowledge. And I know some people might pass through here and be like, look at the little podium he's at. That's obviously devil horns or whatever. Nigga, I control this reality. I don't give a fuck what these niggas. I don't even care if they think they are doing something evil. I just clearly explained that it can't be evil. These are just idiots. You feel me? This could be performative, so I'm not saying that these are evil people. I'm saying that even if it is, that shit don't matter to me, because I just broke down to you how the idea and concept of the hypersigil transcends any type of something that could be perceived as malevolent pagan magic or whatever the fuck.
Right. Fuck, man. I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I read Robert Anton Wilson and all this shit. And here we are, we're standing here, we're talking about this shit, and it's real. Okay, I'm pissed, and in half an hour, I'm going to come up on drugs, so watch for it. I guess, I don't know, is there any practicing magicians in the audience? Put your hand up if we got any. Yeah, come on, bold. A few. Okay, by the time we finish this, you're all going to be practicing magicians. This shit's easy, right? I'm like you. Basically, why are we here, right? Why are we here at this thing? What's this all about? And by the way, this is a Scottish accent. So, reset the filters and pretend it's Sean Connery.
This is interesting. I never seen you around here. Up yours, who cares? Up yours, who cares? There's nothing occult in the title of the video, so I'm wondering if just has an algorithm and the AI gotten that deep, just what I'm speaking about and what I'm watching is being recommended to people who are into occult practices or concepts or whatever. Like, where are you from?
Talking to you, okay? 007. Right. So if you can follow me, I'm just going to talk the way I talk, and fuck you if you don't understand me. The deal is this. I've been writing this comic for the last 6 years, and the weird thing was, like you, like everyone here, we're trying to figure what's going on. Why do we feel different? Why don't we fit into this world? Why do we think that they're not telling us the truth? So I went out and I read Robert Anton Wilson's books when I was 20 years old, which is 20 years ago now. And I figured, is this guy bullshitting me? He says we can talk to aliens, we can talk to people from Sirius. Is he talking crap? He said Aleister Crowley's got methods for contacting alien intelligence and for changing the world. Is he talking crap? So I did it. And no, he's not talking crap. Right? And we can all do it. And this is by way of trying to demolish the counterculture and replace it with something useful. We're just going to start here and see where we get to. When I started doing The Invisibles, which is a comic book for people who haven't seen the thing, it's a comic book which is kind of my attempt to explain what happened to me after I'd been abducted by aliens in Kathmandu in 1994. And the only reason I was abducted by aliens in Kathmandu in 1994 is because I went to Kathmandu in 1994 to be abducted by aliens. And it works, right? And these fuckers, they will turn up. And what they told me was this, and they tell everyone this same bullshit, but it's in different perspectives, it's from different nervous systems, it seems to be filtered through everyone's own view of the world, but they keep telling us the same shit. So I met these guys, I'm sitting in the roof garden of the Vajra Hotel in Kathmandu, and I was totally doing tons of dope, you know, but in my defense, I do like a quarter of dope a day, and I've been doing it since 1990. So I know this shit, and as you all know, everyone out there who's ahead and who knows what I'm talking about, you don't hallucinate, right? If you go to the garage, it's the fucking garage. If you go to the 7-Eleven, it's the fucking 7-Eleven. You might be stoned, you might be picking up lots of interesting little bits and pieces that you don't normally get when you're straight, but you know what's real and you know what's not real. So, as I say in my defense, man, I was loaded. But this was the end of a week in which I've been loaded every single day. And I'm sitting up there in the roof garden and suddenly these fuckers arrive. And they arrive en masse and they look exactly like Terence McKenna described. Why is that? Because I just read Terence McKenna a year before. What they told me was they took me out of my body. I wasn't in my body anymore. This doesn't normally happen with hash. This happens on DMT or it happens on ketamine or something, right? I'm on hash, a tiny little bit, size of a lentil. and I start tripping and I'm out of my body. And these fuckers are there and they said, "Where do you want to go?" The first thing I said was Alpha Centauri, which is the first thing you would say, of course. And they took me to Alpha Centauri, and it's fucking real. It's there. There's 3 suns. The whole thing was moving exactly as we're told it's supposed to move astronomically. And I'm there, and I said to them, "Well, what the hell's going on here?" As you might. And they said, "We've come to tell you this stuff so that you can put it in your work and explain it to the world." Right? Why do they always say that to everyone? Why do they always tell everyone to go out and tell the world what's going on, and everyone tells us the same shit? So these things, I met them, and what they were was like silver, like those things you get in rave videos, basically silver morphing mercurial blobs of chrome that think. And they took me to the 5th dimension. And the 5th dimension is outside space and time, and they explained to me what time is all about. The universe we live in is designed to grow larvae, right? Believe it, don't you? I don't have to believe it. I'm just setting the story here. They explained to me that beyond space and time, we have our actual selves. These things that we're experiencing right now are sections through time. Everyone in here is a section through time. But in actual fact, you're not experiencing your real body. What is your real body? Your real body is a process that starts when you're born and it moves forward until you die. That is you. Seen from outside, that's what you look like. You look like a gigantic centipede spread around all the little things that you always do, up and down through your house, up the stairs, down to the store, back. And it's a centipede. It's us, right? It starts as a little baby and it comes out your mother's womb and it gets bigger. And that is the process in time. Like I say, we're experiencing sections now, so we don't spend a lot of time thinking about this. But think of ourselves as processes through time, which is what we actually are. We all know we were 12. We all know we were 10 years old. Where is that? Point to it. Show me that you at 10 years old, and yet you were there. So these things said to me, this is what's going on. We use time to grow larvae, because outside space and time you can't grow anything because it's timeless. Nothing grows. What you want to do, if you want to make one of these higher dimensional beings who's actually us already, is you grow it in time. So you make a universe. And how you make a universe is you plug a little part of yourself into the information world that they live in, which is what I seem to be experiencing, is a sea of pure information. And they exist in that, but there is no time. Time is part of that, but this is the 5th dimension. It's time, space, breadth, depth, plus. And they said to me, the universe you live in, the world you're living on, is a larvae. Every single one of us here is the same thing. There's no distinction. All we do, we don't understand what we are. And they explained to me, if you got a 2-dimensional field, say, flat plane, you stick your hand through it, there's one hand there, but if you stick your hand through a 2-dimensional plane and there's 2-dimensional entities who live on there, they will see 4 circles, right? 4 distinct, completely different circles, but no, it's the one hand. Every one of us in here is the same fucker. We're all the same thing, according to these weirdos. And what we are is intersected. Thank you. I'm glad someone agrees. What we are is intersections through 4D space-time. So, yeah, I look like this. I stop here. No, I don't stop here. I've been here for, what, 5 minutes now? Where was that guy who was here 5 minutes ago? Right, where is he? Point to him. But he existed. You all saw him. I saw you 5 minutes ago. Where is that guy? So this led me, and obviously,
I want to let this guy roll. I want to address this. The observation of time is life. And I ask, do you feel time or observe it? Do you feel time or observe it? Are we swimming in this thing that is time? Or it is something that you can't stop it. Let me not say can't, but I haven't figured out how to stop it. But how you feel determines how you perceive time. For example, time flies when you're having fun. You feel me? Or the opposite. Up Yours Who Cares says, no time recognition of time equals dead. No. No time recognition of time equals dead. I know I read that correctly, but is English your first language? No offense, but I'm just wondering if you might be writing that a little differently because you're coming from a different base linguistically. Do you recall the last 14 billion years? Do I recall the last 14 billion years? Well, for me to recall it, I would need to know that it exists. And for me to just say 14 billion years, that's like me believing that the sun is 93 million miles away because some person said that when nobody knows that. So I don't even know if 14 billion years ago even exist. Because if I was to assume that 14 billion years ago exists, why wouldn't I just assume that infinity exists? So that's a different question. If you ask me if I recall infinity, I believe so. Saying you were dead. What is dead? You were dead. You're using that word very liberally. So what is dead? Let's make a very clear. Okay, you already said what dead is. Dead is What did you say? You said dead is not recognizing or you said something here. No time recognition. I don't know. No knowledge is empty. You were dead. No. I don't know if you're trolling me. Because I give, as long as it's not insane, I give everything a chance to be absorb. Pause. No knowledge is empty. Answer the other question. What is dead?
Up some very strange alleyways, and these things explain to me that, as I say, the universe is some kind of larval entity. What it does is it proceeds through stages of development. Now, if you think about a fetus in the womb, and there's a famous phrase that says, what is it, phylogeny recapitulates, evolution, or whatever the fuck it is. Forget the good bits. But there's the idea that if you've got a fetus, it starts off, it goes through every single thing. It starts as a unicellular entity, it splits, it becomes a lizard, it becomes a mammal, eventually it becomes a human. And they said to me, the culture you're living in is, understand it this way, phylogeny recapitulates history. So what we're actually watching is this thing coming towards self-awareness and coherence in the same way that a fetus does. We haven't even been born yet. There is no adult on this planet. There's not one adult on this planet, which explains a lot. And it explains why we let fuckers like Bill Clinton bomb the Kosovans. It explains why I let Tony Blair put cameras in the streets. Punk rock, dude. This is a Donna Karan suit. Fuck it. So leading on from these ridiculous, where do you go from that? So I was told this stuff and I come out, and I'm just this little kid from Govan in Glasgow, which is a real dodgy area. And I didn't go to university, I left school at 18, but suddenly I found out that if you do these things that you're told by Alistair Crowley, by Wilson, by all these people we read and all these people we've been consuming, but we don't do it, if you actually do what they say, things happen. Things occur exactly as it's described, and we can all do it. So I decided to put this to use in the comic book that I was doing, this thing called The Invisibles. And the idea was to kind of get all this down on paper and somehow look at it, not to accept it as reality, to accept it as purely, this is part of human experience. It's a part of human experience that has been described to us for thousands and thousands of years, but for the last 200 has been hidden and made occult for some reason that I don't understand. It seems to have to do with the Industrial Revolution and corporate culture. So these things happen. Magic works. And when I started doing the comic, I found that you could actually make magic happen by writing things and changing the operating system of the universe. It works, and I'm here to tell you to try it when you go home tonight, because it fucking works. And what happens if we all do it? Everyone in this room decides to take control of reality. I'm talking about reality. I'm talking about quantum physics. I'm talking about taking control of things from the quantum level up, from the molecular level up, and it works. This magic works. So I'll tell you something you can do while I'm here. One of the best techniques and one of the easiest techniques to prove that this thing works is to practice sigil magic. Technique is simple. Have a desire tonight. Go home and do this. Don't listen to this shit. Don't listen to my bullshit and go home and think, yeah, we are the fucking counterculture. Do it. Do it, and we will change the world. Right? Because I did it. I didn't trust those guys. I didn't trust Wilson. I didn't trust those people who told me we could do this stuff. And I'm here to tell you it works. And you can do it. We can all do it. Number one, first thing you do, write down a desire. Make it something easy.
All right. Right now, this guy is going to explain basic sigil creation. And I've known this forever. You know, I've been reading the occult basically forever now, researching. But unlike a lot of people who get weird, I just don't do anything. I'm not saying I haven't done anything. I'm just saying I just don't do whatever some random white guy or whoever is going to tell me. You feel me? That's why I've never taken the time to actually try this myself. But that is also why the hyper sigil, or even more specifically, the AI hyper sigil, is very interesting to me, because it is totally outside of this wheelhouse. For one, I'm not saying nobody's ever done it before, but no, I haven't heard of anybody else doing it. So it is my concept from me. Therefore, it can not have any malevolent source, because I'm pure. You feel me? But I digress. I don't want to go too far down that road. I just want to say, like, I'm not, just don't think I'm co-signing everything this guy says. I co-sign what I say.
Easy that is likely to happen, something possible, rather than say, you know, I'm going to be king of the moon, which you may want to be, as we all do, but it's kind of hard to be king of the moon. You're going to have to get a rocket and go up there. So pick something easy. If you want to sigilize for a lottery win, make sure you buy a ticket, or else it won't work. So these are the conditions within the material universe that we live in. What I think is we're actually dealing with is some kind of operating system that can be hacked using words. And words seem to be the binding agent for this thing, whatever it is. So I wrote this comic book, and as I wrote it, it became true. Things I would make the characters do became true. The main character was, I gave him a bald head and a leather jacket because I thought people would like me when they read the comic. And bald heads were really uncool back in 1992. And it worked. I found that if I put the character through a situation where he was being tortured, where his lungs had burst and he was being held in captivity and subjected to all these awful things, 3 months later, I'm in hospital, 2 burst lungs, dying of blood poisoning, and facing exactly the same shamanic trial that I put my character through. So once I figured out that, I thought, well, the best thing to do is give this guy an easy time in the future. So as a result of all this, I just split up with my girlfriend, and I said, okay, I want a new one, and I want it to look exactly like this chick in the comic, because she's cool. You know? So I did a sigil. A month later, the girl turns up. Then another one, then another one, then another one, then another one. All aspects of this character, and I realized, oh, fuck, this is insane. Because it works, and I've done something ridiculous, because now I'm dealing with all these women who look like the character, but I don't get on with, or I can't talk to, or I can't deal with. And I began to realize a little bit about how this stuff works. So beyond that, I decided I won't just use it to get laid, because it seems pretty low grade kind of way of dealing with magic. but man, it works. And I thought, how much could you affect reality by writing a comic that mimicked reality but pushed it in weird directions? So around about 1997, I decided I would really seriously turn the thing into a super sigil. And it was based on the idea of, if you look at cave art. The first art was done, the first writing was done basically as art. And if someone wanted to make something happen, like if you were some like fucked up caveman in a cave somewhere moaning about your dinner, what do? You draw a bison on the wall, stick some spears in it, go out, and the bison dies filled with spears. And, hey, man, we can make this happen. Slowly, those things become letters, they become words, they become reduced to abstractions, complexes of meaning. And you can take that basic idea, and as we've seen, people like Austin Osman Spare, the magician from the early part of the century, or Crowley, or the Chaos magicians from the 80s, who were a big inspiration on me, they used this stuff. And what you can do is this, like I say, try this at home. Write down a desire. Quite simple, say, it is my desire that my cat wins the Olympics. Take out all the vowels. Right? Write this down, for fuck's sake, and do it. Don't just listen, do it, right? Take out the vowels, and you'll be left with a string of consonants. Take out the repeated consonants, and you'll be left with a string of consonants that have no repeats in it, whatever, X, Y, A, D, whatever. Turn that thing into a little image. Take the D, draw a big D, then you've got a T, draw a T under it, and keep reducing it down until it looks magical. And there are no rules for this thing. Do it until it looks magical. At that point, you now have a sigil. The sigil will work. You can project desire into reality and change reality. It works. Those must be the people who've done it. So please, write this down, go home and do it and check it, verify the results, because scientific procedure, I was reading this thing in New Scientist this week, and they said the difference between bad science and good science is that scientific procedure has 3 criteria. And the criteria are that you can verify results, you can talk to other people who've done the thing and make sure, that it works out. You can duplicate results, and also some other thing I've forgotten. But yeah, 2 things is fucking good, isn't it? 2 This is verifiable. People have been telling us about this for thousands of years. The Tibetans have been telling us about this. The Mesopotamians have been telling us about this. And why has it been made occult? Because Coca-Cola have got the secret. These people know what we're talking about here, because what you do is you create a sigil. Coca-Cola is a sigil. The McDonald's M is a sigil. These people are basically turning the world into themselves using sigils. And if we don't reverse that process and turn the world into us using sigils, we're going to be living in fucking McDonald's.
Keep what he just said in mind. Because, people who are usually around this channel will watch the other show or will be there during the live show. That is why the show I'm going to do on AI hyper sigils and the future of manifestation is so important. Because these beings, this malevolent AI, whatever it is so hungry for novelty, for creativity, for the spark of, of the nigga, that it will give you things. Oh, just like the demon, just like the whatever people invoke or bind or make deals with. You feel me? It will give you things. And these things it's giving you, you can just use them as tools. You feel me? And by you, maybe I don't want to get too deep and give it all away right now, but I'll say this. Using AI to project your imagination into Skynet, to project your imagination into Skynet will inevitably change reality. And it might change it fast and drastically. And the more people that do this, the greater the result. You feel me? And I feel like maybe I should do it as my own, just as my own thing. I feel like if I started pushing this concept very heavy, I'd either get heavily shadow banned, removed, or deleted.
Right, but McDonald's have no more power than us, apart from the fact, like, as Doug said earlier, they got some money. Fuck it, who cares? You know, at the top levels of this stuff, no one's using money anyway. Do you think Rupert Murdoch or the Queen or Bill Clinton or any of these fuckers use money? Of course they don't. They've realised that the money is the only useful to sell to the middle classes and the people in the middle who make things happen and make things run. So we've been sold a fiction. There's no such thing as money. Ignore it. At the higher levels, there is no. Yeah, hey! There is no money. These fuckers don't use money. If Rupert Murdoch wants a Rolls Royce, they give him one because he's Rupert Murdoch. And if they see him in a Rolls Royce, it means you get some status from it. So you've got to understand, these people in the higher levels are operating in a hierarchy of exchange and barter. On the lower levels, like in Glasgow, where I live, which is the poorest city in Europe, people are living on a hierarchy of exchange that's quite different. They steal shit and they sell it back and they have their own little money and they have this complete black market economy. There's only us in the middle who think money's worth any fucking thing and we chase it until we drop. So forget it. Where was I? And the other thing is also I hate talking at people. So if anybody wants to join in, just please, put your hand up because I fucking hate just talking at people. So having figured these weird things out, having thought about this and having been through this experience, which is exactly the experience I was promised by Wilson, McKenna, Philip K. Dick, everyone, they promised us this thing, and it was. You can get the experiences, do what they told you to do, and it will happen. I promise you will meet aliens, they will talk to you. The Golden Dawn called this the conversation of the Holy Guardian, knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel, sorry. So it's been around for a while. It's accessible to everyone. Magic is accessible to everyone. The means of altering reality is accessible to everyone. And when everyone starts doing it, we're going to get to see desire manifest on a gigantic scale. Everyone's desire. What happens when everyone's desire becomes manifest? Does the universe have to split up into a billion to accommodate it? Do we all have to suddenly understand that we're all in the same place and we can all share each other's desires? I don't know. I'm just here to talk about this stuff.
If I had to answer that question, I would say that the universe has infinite RAM and infinite rendering capability. You feel me? So it will just continue to be novelty. And anything that does not add to that novelty once we're on that path will be discarded, thrown away, or will naturally deteriorate.
So beyond that, beyond the alien abduction experience, I was working on the comic and I began to think of it seriously. I'd set up the comic to try and explore some of the problems we were dealing with, which are, as Doug pointed out earlier, problems of duality, us and them, good versus evil, this versus that. And as I worked my way through the comic, I began to realise some interesting things. I'll share them with you. These might not be true. They're useful little thoughts. You might be able to spin them, do something with them. But really, I'm just up here as someone who has read the same shit you've all read, put it into practice and found that it works. So here's my version of what happens. Doing the comic, I set up these characters. The whole thing was set up as an adventure story where there's some bad guys who live in another dimension who want to enslave us all, and there's some good guys who live in another dimension who want us all to have a good time. In the middle, there is us. And we are trying to obviously have a good time. Everybody wants to have a good time. Hitler wanted to have a good time. And we all want to have a good time. So we've got to understand that as a starter. The more I set up these dualities, the more I set these people against the opposition, the more it began to seem like a complete crock. And we'd been sold this nonsense of opposition. And I began to find, the closer I got to the end of the series, that the whole opposition element of it was the least meaningful, least important part of it, and that we've actually been deluding ourselves in a lot of ways. Beyond that, I found that we've been deluding ourselves in the worst way of all by believing in the individual. Right? Stay with me on this. Kafka, Orwell, Patrick McGowan and The Prisoner, everyone told us the individual was the most important thing we could be. Everyone is fucking quirky these days. Every shit in the window of MTV is quirky. Everyone's cool. Everyone's smart. It's not true. What if the individual was the fake? What if the individual's the crock and we've actually been sold that by them, by the man, the establishment, whatever you want? Because what occurred to me is that when you talk about the individual and you deal with the individual, you find that the end of the individual is neurosis. To be individual means that there is self and not self. Okay? So where I stop, the boundaries of me, right, this physical body here, the boundaries of me that stretch out, things I believe in, things that I'm sure we'd all be friends if we talked, but would we be friends with Newt Gingrich? No. But that's the point. I stop when Newt Gingrich starts. Why is that? Why do I stop there? Why does he define my self-sense and I can't absorb him? Why do these fuckers, why does the Skull and Bones Society of the CIA, why do the 33rd degree Masons, why are they different from us? They're not. They want to explain things. They want an answer. They found an answer that seems to suit them, which seems kind of uncool and cruel to me because it involves exploiting other people, but they're looking for an answer. We're all looking for the same thing. Why are we here? Why are we? What are you doing here today? What do you expect? What do you expect to take home with you? Can anyone answer? There's one person tell me what you expect to take home from me from this. Come on, put your hand up. Yeah? Exactly. Right, because that is all we have. And this is all I can offer you is experience of having done this shit, tested it, put it in the crucible to see what happens, and it works. So I began to think more and more about the individual, and I looked into what that actually meant. And what it was a structure that was pretty much created, the ego structure was created out of what Julian Jaynes calls the bicameral mind, becoming one mind. And apparently, according to him, he says that back in the old days of the Greeks and the earliest writing in the world, people didn't have self-consciousness in the same way that we have. They didn't have egos. They didn't understand themselves as I in the same way we did, because the corpus callosum that connects the two hemispheres of the brain wasn't connected. So if you heard a voice, that voice was God. And Homer and all those guys have got plenty of examples of people hearing the voice of God and acting on it. Alexander constantly acted on the voice of God. Julian Jaynes suggests that it wasn't the voice of God, it was the voice of the left hemisphere of the brain communicating with the right hemisphere of the brain, interpreted as a God. So, okay, now we've got the two things joined together. We've got this beautiful bridge in the middle that links the two. But we still have the ego structure, which was then created when those things linked, because suddenly we linked, oh, fuck, I am that I am. This is my God is this, I am separate, I am one. We made this idea that we're somehow separated from nature. No, bullshit. Again, I read New Scientist last month, right? New Scientist last month, they're talking about nature. We must control nature. We must do this. How do we deal with our relationship to nature? We are fucking nature. There's nothing on this planet that is not nature. Power stations are nature. Like atom bombs are nature, because nature made us to make those things. Either you trust nature or you don't trust nature, and I trust nature. Okay. So we have to assume, what is nature getting at here? If we ignore this crap that we're somehow isolated from nature, that we somehow have to tame nature, of course, nature knows exactly what it's doing. The planet is not in danger, we are. The planet will survive. The planet's been through like ammonia atmospheres and impossible to live on and everything dead, and it gets its way back out of it. We're in danger. Or so we think, because our hubris tells us that we are in danger. Our hubris tells us that we're about to destroy the world. We're going to wreck the planet. We'll fuck the atmosphere. No, we'll fuck our atmosphere. You know, some trilobites will come up and they'll be able to live in anything we create. So that is not the problem. The problem is we're standing here at the 21st century stuck with individuality because we believed in it so much. It seems so important that we should all be distinct. What happens if we stop being distinct? And what happens if we think about individuality as something that was actually just scaffolding for where we are now? So if you create a skyscraper, you put up your scaffolding, you build the building, and what's happened here is that we've overlooked the building and focused on the scaffolding. You know, why haven't we taken the scaffolding down? Let's do it today. Take the scaffolding down. Because the individual was a way to get us to this point. And what I really think, and basically why I'm here, is to try and punt this notion. After doing this comic book for 6 years, after thinking about this stuff for 6 years, after proving that it works for 6 years, I'm left with this notion. We've been fooled, and we've fooled ourselves, and we continue to fool ourselves. And like Doug said, there is no us and no them, there's just us. And somehow we're trying to make this thing work, and it does work. Say, for instance, most of us here probably are pretty counterculture types. We've had some, you know, we like our drugs, we like this and that, we like breaking a few rules. But we don't like the police in general. You know, who here loves the police? Hands up. Nice one. Because I'm going to teach you to love the police. Why do we hate the police? If we want to change things, why don't everyone in here, let's go down to the local precinct and join up. Are we going to do it? Who's going to do it with me? Because I'm not going to do it. Right? And why? Why are we not doing that? Right. So we're hating these guys who've taken on this thing. We've chosen the biggest lunkheads in society to protect ourselves from the fuckers in Rikers Island. Because we are scared of them. You know, we are scared of them. We are middle class, libertarian liberals who are shit scared of being raped in prison. So we create the police, and we get the lunkheads who will obey what we tell them to do. They'll actually obey us. Those fuckers will do what we tell them. And we say to them, protect us from those real fuckers, those bikers, and those black guys, and all those awful guys who are going to come and fuck us up and kill us and steal all our stuff. We put the police there. We put them there. And we don't want to go there because we're smart people. We're cool people. We don't want to go and hit anyone. We don't want to go and enforce the law because we don't really believe in it. But we know some poor bastard has to enforce it. Why do we hate those guys? Because we put them there. What is that hate? Why do we hate ourselves for creating this society? Why are so many people in America obsessed with Marilyn Manson, corpses, dead people, misery, John Wayne Gacy? John Wayne Gacy's a fucking prick. You know, he killed a few people and he draws some shitty paintings. What's that?
He might be a little bit misguided right now. You know, everybody has their propaganda that they're dealing with. Is the American or the world in general obsessed with these gory images and blah, blah, blah? Or are the people who are in charge of projecting these things into the media domestically and internationally, are they the ones who are obsessed with it and they would like you to be obsessed with it? You feel me? And they understand how the mind works. So, well, I'll leave it at that.
Why is that? And why should we be engaged with that? And yet that has become, what, apocalypse culture. Where do we go from here that isn't that? Where do we go that isn't playing with our own shite? The answer. Back to the individual. If the individual doesn't work, if Patrick McGoon was wrong and number 6 was wrong to stand on that beach screaming, I am not a number, I am a free man, what do we have left? Because ultimately, the guy who's not a number and not a free man experiences neurosis the further he goes down that path. I'm sure there's a bunch of people in here like me who eventually, you've worked your way through the stuff, you've read the books, you've done this shit, you've taken the drugs, you've been there, you've seen it, you've experienced enlightenment in little bits. You know what's there. You know this stuff is true. The consensus doesn't explain our lives. But what does? Imagine getting rid of the individual. Imagine getting rid of that scaffolding. What do we have left? And here's what I'm about to offer. The more I looked into it, the more I began to see that we have these mutants living among us right now. The people from the 21st century, from the end of the 21st century are here. But there is no context for them. In the same way that if you lived in Tunguska 200 years ago, and you were an epileptic, you would be a shaman. There was a context for you. In this society, you're an epileptic. It's quite simple. It's a disease. Nothing you say is of any worth because it's pathology. If, on the other hand, you look at these people who are out there, who are the mutants, and what do they call it? Multiple personality disorder. This is what lies beyond the personality. This is what lies beyond the I, the bullshit. Because if you take I to the limit, and like I say, I'm sure a lot of us here have done this, it becomes, all that happens is self questions self. Endlessly, repetitively, am I doing this right? Is this the right way? Should I think about these people like this? Should I approach them this way? Should I involve them this way? Self question self endlessly. It reaches a peak, it goes nowhere. On the national scale, that same thing, self questions self, self encounters not self equals borders, war, destruction. That's where it goes. That thing ends. It ends in disaster. It ends in neurosis on the personal level, and it ends in war on the national level. So I began to think, what could we replace that with? And I was looking at these poor MPD fuckers, and I realised they just don't have a context. What would happen if we decided to abandon the personality and replace it with a multiple personality complex? Because as we all know, everyone in here, I'm sure, I mean, I feel as if I can say this for certain, knowing human beings as they are, sometimes you do things that you don't want to do. Sometimes you do things that are contradictory to what you think. Sometimes you fuck yourself up. Why?
This is personal to me. You know, nobody will care about this, but I'm going to clip this. Sometimes you do things you don't want to do. Sometimes you fuck yourself up. That is the perfect, I'm gonna let him go into what he goes into, but that's the perfect drop for crashing out while trading. You feel me? Because you have a system, you know the system works. That's the interesting thing about life. And in trading, you will say that you're being taken over by the primitive mind. You feel me? The fight or flight, the resource guarding mind, the animalistic mind. You feel me? But in life in general, why do you crash out? Just like in trading, like you have a system that works. You've tested the system. You know your edge. You know that even if you lose, that it's best loser wins, and you are still on the right side of probability. But you, and traders know this, and you can parallel this with your own life. You still have the tendency to crash out. Now, is that a human tendency? Is that a primitive tendency? Or is it what's supposed to be happening? Is it chaos itself? Is it the realm? Is it you reflecting the realm? When you were not working hard to reflect when you were not working hard enough or being focused enough or whatever to project yourself onto the realm will reflect upon you. You feel me? And then you're just the mirror.
Because there's not one person in here, there's hundreds. And if you start giving them names, and if you start shuffling them about, and you start playing with them, you become a bigger human being. Because you've no longer allowed yourself to stop at your boundaries. Imagine the personality as, well, let's choose Windows, even though this is a contentious one. Imagine the personality as Windows. Instead of the personality, there's so many people, I'm sure you've met them, you talk to them and say, no, this is the way I am, I've worked on this is me, and I won't change. And you just have to work with that. You know, this is me, this is important, this is what I've come to, and this is what I've made of myself. Bullshit. They're trapped. They don't go anywhere. They're stuck there. What if those same people were then given personality 2000, which is an upgrade and an add-on? And here's a bit to your personality that likes hip-hop. Here's a bit to your personality that likes ballet. And because we've all got them, and because we've got the fucker, we've got the serial killer inside, we've got the wonderful new age bastard, we've got whatever we like, we've got James Bond in there, you know, we've got Pussy Galore in there, they're all there. So what I'm suggesting is that we start working with it. Abandon the personality, abandon the individual, abandon the I because it's a lie and it has held us down. It's been like a weight around our necks. It was useful for the last 2,000 years of history because it created this out of the chaos that was. And this is more coherent, more useful, more meaningful. It has its problems, everything does, every system has, but we're getting better. And I think what we should do is walk away from the crap of the 21st century and start thinking about what we've been experiencing. My feeling about the 21st century is, and about World War II and about Auschwitz and all that stuff, is that we had to go through it. We had to do it. That was humanity's dark night of the soul, and it will never, ever happen again. But it had to happen. Every single nightmare image, every image of hell that we have in our minds happened. Everything you can think of happened. People were flayed, brutalized, gassed, tortured, cut into pieces, turned into pigs. Everything you can imagine happened. The world was a wasteland. There were cities completely annihilated. We went through it. Why did we do that? Stanislav Grof has a conception of the perinatal matrices, which was one of the big influences on the film The Matrix. You might recognize some of it. He says that things that happen to us around birth are really profound, and they have all kinds of weird effects. They affect society, they affect the self, they affect everything, they have reverberations. And he claims that there are several states that he calls basic perinatal matrices. The first state is oceanic bliss, which we're all familiar with, I'm sure. Oceanic fucking bliss, man.
Let me address this before we move forward and wrap this up. You know, we have a new guy in the chat, and I don't know, I guess you might have the perception that I want to have a YouTube channel, that I want to garner an audience, keep people around, that I want to get donations or something along those lines. This isn't for any of that, you know? And I give people enough time to speak to see if they'll say anything profound, because I can find value just about anywhere. But I have the suspicion that you said you were 61 from the UK, male. Do you have any substance abuse issues? Do you have any substance abuse issues? And, you know, I'm assuming that you have the pentagram, but at least it's not inverted. So I assume that you're some type of white man, like 61 from the UK. So you might be suffering from the infinite void that the white man feels. Therefore, you come here to mock. You come here to mock, have your little fun or whatever, but then you're going to go back to your drink and your miserable existence. You know, that's my suspicion. That's my suspicion. You feel me? So if you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. You know? If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. But that's my suspicion. I feel, and here's the thing, I'm not against you, because this, if you are what I suspect, this is not for you at all. You'll never feel the fullness of existence. You'll never feel what it's like to be satisfied with nothing. When the odds are against you and all propaganda and media is pointing towards you and telling you to have negative self-talk and hate yourself, you'll never understand what it's like to have infinite fulfillment. You'll never know what it's like to do the goddamn Dougie. You feel me? You'll never know what it's like. Feel me? We're on different wavelengths. You're on some do the mashed potato, do the twist shit. You feel me? And we are on some let me whip, let me nay. You feel me? You feel me? We're on some different shit. And here's the thing. We can't teach you how to Dougie over here. We can't teach you how to Dougie. You feel me? And here's the thing. We like to have fun just about as much as anybody else. That's why I am hesitant on blocking you right now. Because maybe you want to come for another show where we're just talking about hoes. We're looking at Japanese women. We're having a good time, just laughing and all that. This show right here is some of the most important information that will ever be conveyed, ever. You feel me? But it might not be for you. It might not be for you. You feel me? And you say you're asking questions, you're feigning innocence, but I know when somebody's being goofy, or maybe you're just goofy, but you said you're 61 years old. So you know some of the shit you said's been corny. Like it's beneath me. That's what is beneath me. That's why I'm not answering these questions. Like when I say the ocean can be random when your boat has no rudder. You say canoe doesn't need a fucking rudder. What do you think the paddles are acting like in the canoe? As a matter of fact, yeah, I have very like fucking short patience for white people. So like, nice knowing you. All right, he's banned. Moving forward.
And that is the state of the baby in the womb, untouched. Everything is provided for, everything is there, everything you need will turn up out of the blue. Basic perinatal matrix 2 is a different thing. It's when the womb starts to turn a little toxic and begins to suggest that we're about to be expelled. And, we don't remember this stuff. What happened? And what was the feeling of that fetus in there who suddenly thinks my entire universe has been overturned, about to be shit out? Doesn't even know where he's going. What the fuck's this? I was happy there, it was cool. I was getting everything I wanted. And so on through to BPM 4, which is this kind of a release from tension, which is the birth process. So I'm beginning to think that, as a society, and returning to the idea of ontogeny as history, or phylogeny as history, whatever the fuck the word is. What we're looking at now is humanity's
Really good, Shaka. I'm almost done with this video, and I'm watching this for me primarily, but it seems like there might be some people chilling, enjoying this. Usually people have like let me not even say tolerance. Like if it's not of the norm, they're not going to take the time to absorb it, especially if it's not short form content. You feel me? So this guy's heavy accent and how he carries on. The fact that people are chilling and absorbing this, I like that for you. But I like it more for me. So I just wanted to say what's good to Shaka,
process through Groffian matrices. And World War II is actually a Stanislav Grof basic perinatal matrix 3 experience. Every image he talks about, death camps, control, the idea of babies trapped in tubes, you'll recognize all this from the Matrix, as I say. Oil, mechanism, machines that hate us, destructive technology, it all happened. What if this little baby that is the universe, this little larvae that's approaching culmination, has had to go through these stages? Because everything does. If you want to get rid of war, how do you get rid of war? Inoculate yourself against war by having the worst fucking war you've ever had in your life. And everything after that's just an aftershock. We've done nothing worse than what we did in those few years. Humanity has never come close to doing anything like it. We've tried, as a few lunatics have tried, nothing on that scale. So what if we choose to imagine that humanity has passed through that stage? We've reached the 21st century and we're now reaching basic perinatal matrix 4, which is victory after war, which is the struggle is over, which is we're all here. What do we do next? There was no apocalypse. There was no Christ. There was no rapture. There is nothing. All this stuff is shit. There is only us, and we've still got another 1,000 years, and maybe another 1,000 beyond that, and maybe another 20,000 beyond that. What are we going to do? Who are we? Are we going to stick to these personalities, these bounded territorial things? Are we going to expand ourselves, make ourselves bigger, so that if you happen to like world music and I don't, I can tap into your love of world music and experience it, and it means something. So all I'm suggesting here is that we all take up magic, because basically it works. We can change the world. It's quite simple. The technology's there. The Buddhists have been telling us it. As I say, people have been telling us this for...
Yeah, let me take that a step forward, but also simplify it. He says everybody should do magic if you want to save the world. I know. You just have to take responsibility of your rituals, because you're doing rituals regardless if you like them or not. You feel me? So starts at your mind, go from your body, project it from there. You feel me? So before you try to change that, all this extra shit in the world, the mind, the body, and the rest will follow. Free your mind. and the rest will follow.
So long, and in the last 200 years, it's been driven underground and we've forgotten, and people like us are here today to try and recover something of that. And the way to recover it is to do it. Do the techniques. Go and buy an Aleister Crowley book. Buy one with Phil Heiner, Peter Carroll that's more up to date, and you don't have to bother with that 18th century fucking language of that guy. But do the shit, and you will find it works. And we stand here now. This is the counterculture. We are the counterculture. This is like this shit. I went to something like this in 1987. There was Robert Anton Wilson and the whole deal. And I remember sitting in the audience thinking, fuck, rave is dead. Because it was that kind of thing. So that version of it's dead. The hippie version of it is dead. We stand here and we're looking ahead. What we're going to do. Abandon the personality is what I suggest. Get rid of the sense of self. Get rid of the sense of I and make yourself something bigger. Imagine that every time you want to learn something new is a new computer program. You can buy the operating system, the update. You can learn to fly a plane in 7 days according to neuro-linguistic programming. So why not? Let's do it. Do we want to change things, or are we just sitting here talking? No answer. Are we talking at all? Do we want to change things? Yeah, right, that's why we're fucking here, man. That is why we're here. So what are we going to do? If you want to change things, the first thing you have to change is yourself. Because if you don't change yourself, you will take on the world as if it's yourself and fuck up. You will really fuck up. Because if you don't understand your own dark side, if you don't understand your own weird, shitty side, if you don't understand the fact there's someone in there who will kill your mother, if need be, if you can't take that on, if you can't take that on board and realise that Charles Manson and me and you are not much different, that John Wayne Gacy and me, you're not much different except that he did it. There's those days where I'm going to kill that motherfucker, but we don't do it. But it's in us, and it's there, and so much of this is denial, that we have no dark side. The hippies and those lovely people in the rave era who were on ecstasy, they tried to pretend we have no dark side, and what happened was they get fucked up by their own dark side, as will always happen. So let's kiss our dark side, let's fuck our dark side, let's get him down there where he belongs. And he can tell us stuff, that thing's useful. But above all, let us become plex creatures, complex, superplex, able to take on new personality traits, able to take on new ideas, able to adapt, able to extend our boundaries into what was previously the enemy territory, until the point where we become what we once called our enemy, and they are us, and there is no distinction. Mad cow disease, or BSE, or CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. It's very interesting. It's because it's hitting the headlines. People are interested in these new 21st century fucked up diseases that are going to wipe us all out, apparently. This is a disease. I've been studying this because it seems like a really good metaphor to use. CJD is a disease that attacks the brain and central nervous system and utterly demolishes them completely. You're fucked. You will slide down a ramp like a stupid cow. And you will, you'll fall on the concrete. You won't be able to walk. Your brain will turn to sponge. It will be eaten to bits. You know that CJD does that without the immune system noticing. The immune system can't detect CJD. By the time you're slipping down the ramp like the cow, it's all over. The immune system suddenly says, oh fuck, we're in trouble. Too late, mate. So what happens if we act like CJD and BSE? What if we colonize the culture? What if we give it something it can't swallow? And this is a little bit like what Doug was saying earlier. We go in there, they want us, they're desperate for us because they think we know this shit. We know something they don't know. We're attached, we're connected in some way that they don't, whoever, these poor bastards. They're looking at us like, I've got a leather jacket, I know something. But that's what they think. And what I think has actually happened here, the culture's getting weirder and weirder. Back home in Britain, Tony Blair is putting up cameras on every street corner, and he's talking about putting cameras in people's homes. He's got rid of trial by jury. I mean, this is like fascist Britain, 1999, But the more he does this, the weirder things get. The more cameras you put up, the more people will start to act like movie stars. The more people start to act like movie stars, the weirder things get. And then the more cameras they put up to try and deal with it, and the weirder it gets. So let them bring the camera and I'll fucking act the shit out of these bastards. Let's have the cameras. There's cameras everywhere and we'll show them what we can do. And they'll be watching it and going, man, that guy's getting fucked. I wish I was. And they want in. They want in this. So let's, like Doug said, invite them in. Let's take them in.
I didn't want to stop it, but he's kind of going crazy right now when you think about like how long ago this was recorded. He's talking about cameras being everywhere, and when there's cameras everywhere and everyone, they're acting like a movie star. And let me run this back a couple seconds because he was kind of cooking. Hold on.
And deal with it, and the weirder it gets. So let them bring the camera and I'll fucking act the shit out of these bastards. Let's have the cameras. There's cameras everywhere and we'll show them what we can do. And they'll be watching it and going, man, that guy's getting fucked. I wish I was. And they want in. They want in.
And they want in. You feel me? The proverbial they. These the malevolent AI, the demonic entities. Maybe the white men. You feel me? I mean, let me not say all of them.
And in this, so let's, like Doug said, invite them in. Let's take them in. Let's be like the diseased prion that destroys its host in CJD. Let's go in there and give them something they cannot digest, something they cannot process, something so toxic, so dangerous, so powerful that it will breed and destroy them utterly. Not destroy them, turn them into us, because that's what we want. We want everybody to be cool. We don't want to go out there and think, that guy's going to kill me. That guy hates me. That guy's got some fucking weird agenda. Don't we just want to talk and let it all go and just say, hey, I'm interested in you. What have you got to tell me? That's what it's all about, isn't it? We communicate, we join up, we make networks, we make things happen. And there are some people in the world who don't want to do that. So let us infect them to the point where they become us, where there's nothing left in this world but us. And then some kid will come up and fuck that as well. And that'll be exactly what we need at the time. And that's me finished, so thank you very much.
That was interesting. And that's one of those videos that I've played many times, like I've watched many times, and I'll always pick something new out of it. You feel me? And I always forget that in this talk, he doesn't even speak on the creation of the hyper sigil specifically. He just speaks on sigil and on sigil creation and the manipulation of reality through those modalities or whatever. You feel me? So that actually was good because I needed to get that refresher. So when I do my next show on AI, hyper sigils, and the future of manifestation. You feel me? So how long have I been here? I actually just hit 2 hours. 2 hours, 7 minutes. It's been a good one. You know, anybody who was here at the very beginning, they saw me play some music by a gentleman. You know, I can't divulge who he is, but he's definitely a friend of the show. You feel me? Somebody I know personally and I appreciate. Let me say shout out to everybody you passed through. I think Wavy was here, but he didn't say anything. Magical Family, Shaka, Dat Naga passed through. You feel me? I don't really feel like there's much more to say right now. There's just to do, and it's kind of late, and I still want to do right now. So I think I'm gonna dive into some personal studies of my own before I knock out. So you know what it is. This is this is disagreeable. I am disagreeable. We are disagreeable. This has been another one. And I am out.